This is your complete guide to the city of Bordeaux. How to get here, what attractions to see, how to take winery tours in the French countryside, and how to have the best time of your life in the wine capital of the world. Now, when people think of wine country, they usually think about rolling vineyards as far as the eye can see, grapes growing everywhere, drinking wine in the warm sunshine, and eating amazing food surrounded by friends in the heart of the countryside. Well, all of that exists right here in Bordeaux. This is the epicenter of the wine world, and some of the most famous wines that you'll have heard of originate from around here. But even if you're not a fan of wine, Bordeaux itself is actually a lovely city to visit, and this video guide is split into two parts: the actual city of Bordeaux and the winery tours around it. But let's start first of all about how to actually get here from the airport. The easiest way is to take bus number 1, the Ligne 1, which will take you to Gare Saint-Jean station, the main train station here in Bordeaux. It's dead easy to buy a ticket. Simply go to a ticket booth and literally pay with it with your contactless credit card or cash. You can pick a single journey, but I decided to buy a 7-day all-inclusive pass, as I'm going to be here for quite a few days. To use it, simply validate it on one of the validators on the method of transport of your choice, whether it's the bus, the trams, or the local trains. It's literally that easy. When you've arrived into the centre of Bordeaux, I recommend that you visit the tourist office to pick up a paper map, but you'll quickly find that Bordeaux is an incredibly walkable city. You don't really need public transport all that much, but it's definitely handy if you don't like to walk all that much. One thing you will notice as soon as you enter the city of Bordeaux is that some of the architecture is amazing. I mean, take this place for example. This is an amazing looking building, and this is just the court. Speaking of which, let's visit the most famous building that Bordeaux is known for: the Place de la Bourse. These very picturesque colonial buildings flank this rather cool fountain. And when you've seen pictures or videos of Bordeaux, it's usually of the Place de la Bourse lit up at night. And it does look postcard perfect. When I arrived though, there was no water in the fountain, and quite a lot of it seems to be under construction. That's definitely the case right here at the water mirror. Technically, this is meant to reflect the Place de la Bourse, but when I arrived, it kind of looked like this, rather devoid of water.
I think they've actually drained it, and they'll probably refill it in the summertime, which is a shame. So yeah, the water mirror is just a piece of concrete today.
But whether the water mirror has water or not, the waterfront is actually quite nice to walk through. There's a bit of a garden, and you'll get to see some very interesting ships, and you'll come across the Pont de Pierre. This is one of 3 famous bridges that spans the river. A short walk away from the Place de la Bourse, you'll find the Porte Cailhau. This is a historic city gate where you can take some lovely photos and videos, and at various times of the day you can actually go inside. But once you go through the gate, you'll notice the old medieval French streets, complete with excellent eateries and wine shops as far as the eye can see. It's definitely a stereotypical old French town. A couple of streets away, you'll find the Grosse Cloche, aka the Fat Bell. It's called that for obvious reasons, but it definitely makes for some excellent photos and videos. Go south of that and you'll find one of the 3 most important churches in the city. This is the Basilica Saint Michel. Usually it looks like this, but when I arrived it looks more like this. Another thing that's completely under reconstruction here in Bordeaux, the bell tower is currently off limits as they're currently renovating it, but you still can walk into the basilica itself. Inside, it's a grand old church for sure. Yes, there's plenty of things to see, but the one thing I want you to focus on is the sheer beauty of the stained glass windows in here. They're definitely possibly the most colourful stained glass that you'll probably ever see. A few streets away from that, you'll find the Place de la Victoire. It's another city gate with this rather interesting turtle sculpture slap bang in the middle of it. The public square itself is nothing to write home about, but it is the start of Rue St Catherine. This is one of the longest shopping streets in all of Europe, and it will take you a while to walk all the way up and down it. Yes, you can find the shops that you'll find back at home, but there's some equally interesting quirky shops that you might want to go into. It's also the place where you'll find the best cuisine in the city, and Bordeaux has its own unique food item that you won't find anywhere else. They're called Caneles, and the best description I can give you is that it tastes like very chewy raisin bread. Even though the chocolate covered ones were a little bit nicer, admittedly it's not really my thing. But once you've done your shopping and you've eaten a whole bunch of Caneles, you'll probably come across this place. Officially, it's called the Saint-André Cathedral, but most people know this as Bordeaux Cathedral. From the outside, it looks like a very grand Gothic building, and it is. When you step foot inside, no surprises here, it's absolutely freaking massive inside. Pay close attention to the paintings on the wall and the organ right at the back, but it's definitely worth walking around even if you're not really a churchgoer. The bell tower outside, the tall Pey Berland, is pretty cool, and you can pay to climb all the way up it. Around the corner you'll find the Hôtel de Ville, which unfortunately is not a hotel, and the National Opera House, which is a very lovely building. It's a great place to take in the opera, the ballet, or a show. They do tours of the Opera House, but it's usually in French and it's only on select days of the week. And every time I walk past this restaurant, there's always a mile-long queue to get in it. Boy, the food in here must be amazing. North of that, you'll find the Place de Quinconces, another public square that's famous for this, the Monument aux Girondins. This monument, complete with all of these carved statues and this fountain, that also doesn't have water in it right now, is usually in a lush green park space. But as you can see from this footage, a rather tacky fair has appeared in its place. Although the food here looks pretty damn amazing. There's a couple of attractions around this area that I urge you to check out if you're interested. First of which, the Musée des Beaux-Arts. If you're an art lover, this fine arts museum is a great way to kill off a few hours. If you're not bored of churches yet, I recommend that you visit the Church of Saint-Seurin. Okay, the church itself is nothing to write home about. You've probably got a church in your town that kinda looks like this. But what's cool about this place is the underground crypt that houses various famous saints, including Saint-Seurin himself. It's pretty creepy to know that people are in these tombs, but it's actually kind of cool. If you're interested in Roman architecture, the Palais Galien is nearby, which is the ruins of an ancient Roman amphitheatre. And if you're not all churched out yet, the Église Saint-Louis definitely comes recommended. From the outside, it looks suspiciously like Notre Dame. It's located on Notre Dame Street, and on the inside, it also kinda looks like Notre Dame. So, yeah, interesting copycat building. Believe it or not, all of the attractions I've mentioned so far in this video will take you about a day to see. You could literally fly through all of that in a single day. So if you're on a quick whistle-stop tour of France, you'll be safe to know that you can cover most of Bordeaux in less than 24 hours. But what I do recommend that you save time for is the city's most visited attraction, La Cite du Vin. This modern attraction, known as the City of Wine in English, is an all-interactive wine experience. And if you don't know a damn thing about wine, like me, you'll be thoroughly educated and mesmerized at this attraction. Once you buy your ticket to go in and pick up your audio guide, you'll notice these rather modern interactive displays that interact with your audio guide. You'll learn all about the different wine growing regions, why grapes are only grown in several regions across the planet, the different types of grapes that make the different kinds of wine, and believe it or not, there's a lot, the history of wine, wine etiquette, how to assess the colour of wine, how to smell wine, how to taste wine, and it's basically like being on a mini wine sommelier course, albeit a lot more fun and exciting. You'll get to learn why Bordeaux specifically is the winemaking capital of the world. You can virtually crush grapes and see how much wine you produce. Amazing looking costumes by these three gentlemen here. And overall, if you know nothing about wine, you'll learn absolutely everything you need to know from visiting this attraction. But the best part, rather predictably, is going up to the rooftop bar and getting a tasting of a complimentary wine of your choice. It's pretty cool to enjoy your glass of wine overlooking the sunny city of Bordeaux whilst reflecting what you've learned over a nice glass of red, or white, or rosé, whatever you fancy really. On site, you can also eat here, and if you want some of the wine yourself, they have this amazing shop downstairs, just in case you want to buy some lovely bottles of wine to take home with you. Now, there's other attractions that I could have mentioned here in Bordeaux. Some of these involve crossing the bridge over to the other side of Bordeaux, but to be honest, there really isn't that much to do on the east side of the city. You've got these weird statues, some nice churches, and the botanical gardens, which aren't growing anything at this time of the year, obviously. But the ones I mentioned earlier in the video are the must-see and do things whilst you're here in the city of Bordeaux. But as night falls, Bordeaux becomes a very lovely city to walk around. There's plenty of outside eateries where you can eat some amazing food and drink the night away with friends, but if you're a sightseer like me, it might be worthwhile visiting some of the attractions that we've already been to, because they light up like Christmas trees, and it makes for some amazing photos and videos, especially around the Grosse Cloche, Porte Cailhau, and the Place de la Bourse. La Cite du Vin isn't lit up at night, which is a shame, but the modern bridge opposite it is, so if you want to take photos of that at night, it looks pretty cool. And that tacky fair that I went to before? Well, at night, it actually comes alive. Especially if you like fairground rides, kind of like this, but also it has some pretty nice food on tap. It's definitely a nice way to kill off some time if you're short on things to do at night here in Bordeaux. And there's still a mile-long queue at that restaurant? Wow, it really must be good. But Nin, I hear you ask, how do I go to some actual wineries? Well, the best thing to do is to go back to the Bordeaux Tourism Office. They've got ready-made tours to take you into wine country, and the prices vary depending on the region and how many wineries are on the tour. There's many different iconic winemaking regions in Bordeaux, but if you're a bit of a wine newbie like me and you're not quite sure where to go, there's only one place I would recommend: the ancient medieval town of Saint-Emilion. This is possibly the most famous wine appellation in the world, and wines from here are known for their exceptional quality. And if you do find a tour that takes you here, you definitely won't be disappointed. The town itself is incredibly picturesque, and it's what most people think of when they think of wine country. So if you're after a stereotypical experience, this is the place. With these narrow cobbled streets, boutique eateries, wine shops, obviously, but also vineyards as far as the eye can see. Okay, they're not growing all that much right now. Come summer or harvest time, these will be full of grapes. But whilst you're in the town itself, you can visit the King's Tower, where you get this lovely view over the entire town of Saint-Emilion. The town square, which has this lovely eating patio that's attached to the local restaurant. And you've got wine shops and wineries literally around every single street. Wine is definitely the lifeblood of this town. There's definitely no shortage of places where you can taste wine, look at wine, buy wine, or do anything that's wine related. This medieval church right here, when you go inside, it definitely is quite colourful, especially when you get the sun streaming in through these stained glass windows. Be sure to check out the cloisters. They're very similar to the ones I saw at Laycock Abbey near Stonehenge. It's definitely very picturesque and is indicative of what life was like back in medieval times. And outside the church, you've got this lookout area that overlooks the entire town, the town square, and the valley of where Saint-Emilion sits. It's definitely one of those wonderful things to do. Sitting back in the town square, drinking wine, eating amazing food surrounded by your friends. The people here really know how to live. On this particular tour, we ended up going into 3 wineries. The first, Chateau Tailhas, which is run by two brothers and is located in the town of Pomerol, another famous wine growing region, you wouldn't believe that this small farm building houses an entire winery. What most people don't realise is that there are hundreds of wineries dotted around this area. The facilities to make the wine are actually quite modest, so believe it or not, this little room produces 55,000 bottles of wine a year. It's pretty hard to believe, but yeah, that's actually true. And no, they don't actually press it with their feet anymore, they use this contraption instead. It's really hard to believe that two people on this little farm can produce so much wine. And in this underground cellar, where the wine is aging in casks, this is 1 year's worth of production. It doesn't seem like a lot, but this is enough to fill thousands of bottles. After every tour, you get to taste the actual wine itself. And if you like the stuff, you can either buy the bottles directly from them, or have them sent to your house. The wine tasting is definitely the best bit, and with every tour you get at least 3 glasses of wine. So if you are driving here, maybe get a designated driver. It's pretty much the same story at Chateau Franc, Mayne, our second winery. The facilities are definitely a lot more modern than the first one we went to, and it's very interesting to see what they do differently to produce their wine. The most notable thing is that they actually have underground caves where the wine casks rest at a constant temperature year-round. Our tasting session was in their showroom at Saint Emilion, and we got to try wines from different brands just to compare. It definitely is worth the money, this experience, especially considering that every winery you go to, they'll give you at least 3 glasses of wine. And in the case of Chateau Franc, Mayne, they give you 6 glasses of wine from other brands just to compare it to theirs. Again, if you like the wine, you could buy it directly here or have it sent to your house. I'm very impartial to this one, too bad it costs €125 a bottle. But that's pretty cheap compared to the most expensive bottles of wine here. Over £5,000 for a bottle, yikes! And our third winery of the day, an independent winery called Chateau Champion, run by Véronique and her husband only, it's pretty much a similar story. You get to see their facilities, their vineyards, their casks, and you get to try some wine afterwards. And I forgot to mention that when you're trying these wines, it's a great opportunity to talk, socialise and make friends from people around the world. So even if you're not here for the wine, definitely come for the socialisation. But you will not be disappointed if you come out here to Saint-Emilion, or any other wine growing region around Bordeaux. Because they're all very similar, you get wine tasting sessions and enjoy drinking wine in the sun whilst walking through vineyards. If you are a fan of wine, this definitely needs adding to your bucket list. You may only visit this place one time in your life, but I assure you that once you do, the happy memories that you'll get from here will last a lifetime. Whether it's the architecture, the lovely people, the beautiful French countryside, taking it easy and drinking wine in wine country, I guarantee that you'll have the time of your life here in Bordeaux. Okay, Nin, I'm sold. What do I need to do? Well, you need to come here to Bordeaux. There's only one airport here, Bordeaux-Merignac Airport, and as earlier mentioned in the video, the easiest way to get from the airport to the town centre is to take the number 1 bus from just outside the airport to Saint-Jean train station. You can get to pretty much everywhere in Bordeaux from here. When you're around Bordeaux, you don't need public transport in order to get by because everything is pretty much within walking distance. The only thing that isn't is probably La Cite du Vin, which is located way in the north part of the city, but it's still pretty walkable. The cost? Well, believe it or not, most of the attractions I've listed here in the video are free. The only things that you'll really need to pay for is entry to La Cite du Vin, which definitely comes highly recommended, and if you're going on a winery tour. But other than that, most of the other attractions are free to look at. Food and drink prices are also quite reasonable. Wine is cheap, obviously, but it's definitely a cost-effective city as it pertains to food and drink. If you're looking for a place to stay, I highly recommend staying in the downtown area of Saint-Pierre, which is this section on the map. if you do stay here, everything is pretty much within walking distance. Please don't stay on the east side of the river, as there's nothing really to do here. If you're looking to do a winery tour, there's two different options. If you have a specific winery in mind, such as Chateau Champion or something similar, you can arrange it directly with them, and you can literally get public transportation or drive yourself to these wineries. It's definitely cheaper doing it this way, but you have to arrange everything yourself. In my case, all I did was visit the Bordeaux tourism office, and they did all the work for me. They booked 3 tours and a trip to Saint-Emilion in one day. Obviously, you're paying a premium for this, and you don't necessarily get a choice of which wineries to visit, but it definitely makes life easy, and you can enjoy the wine without having to drive yourself around. Speaking of wineries, you can go to many different areas, but if you see a tour going to Pomerol and Saint-Emilion, I would highly recommend you jump all over that. Is there anything else I need to know? Yes, Bordeaux Airport is a pain in the ass to get through. Passport control is slow, collecting bags are slow, even using the ticket machine can be quite slow, so allow plenty of time to get yourself in and out of the airport. Also, if you're thinking about doing a winery tour, don't come in March like I did. Book your trip for the end of summer or September when harvest time is on, and I guarantee you'll have a much better time. The weather will be nicer, the temperatures will be hotter, and you'll actually see grapes growing in the vineyards, not at all like this. Bordeaux is definitely worth visiting once in your life, especially if you like wine, but even if you don't and you want some culture, nice sunshine, French countryside, all in a cost-effective city break, look no further than Bordeaux. If you have found this video at all helpful, please be sure to like, share and subscribe. If you've got any questions, leave it in that comment section below, and if you've got any other suggestions, feel free to tweet them at me. If I get enough suggestions, I'll go ahead and make a video about it. But guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
I mean, look at this. Life is so much more peaceful out here in the rural French countryside. Really creepy church. Creepy.
Last a bit more longer than
Yeah. I like it out here.